Hi everyone, my name is Abhiraj Karakapati. Welcome to my YouTube channel Amazing Abhi. Episode 2, Howl, Mad Dog, continues the Eris-focused opening of Season 3, but this time the spotlight widens. Instead of only showing Eris becoming stronger, the episode introduces Nina as a mirror to her. Nina is talented, proud, and competitive, but she does not fully understand what kind of emotional fire is pushing Eris forward. That makes this episode more than another training chapter. It is about jealousy turning into respect, rivalry turning into growth, and raw aggression learning how to become controlled strength. The episode also cleverly reconnects Eris's story to Rudius without fully shifting the focus away from the Sword Sanctum. By the end, the title Mad Dog feels different. Eris is still wild, but she is learning that the strongest bite is not always the loudest one. Nina begins the episode frustrated by Eris. From Nina's perspective, Eris has arrived at the Sword Sanctum and quickly become the person everyone is watching. Eris trains with terrifying focus, earns attention from masters, and speaks about Rudius with absolute conviction. For Nina, that's irritating. She is not just jealous of Eris's talent, she is also confused by Eris's devotion. Eris treats Rudius like someone worth chasing, protecting, and measuring herself against. Nina cannot understand why someone as fierce as Eris would be so emotionally tied to him. This jealousy gives the episode its first emotional hook. Nina wants proof. She wants to know whether Rudius is really strong enough to deserve Eris's respect. That question pushes Nina to leave the Sword Sanctum and travel all the way to the Renoa University of Magic. This is a major tonal shift. The Sword Sanctum is harsh, isolated, and built around physical discipline, while Renoa feels like a wider world of magic, students, rumors, and social chaos. Nina enters this world with a simple goal: confront Rudius and judge him directly. Her journey matters because it shows how much Eris's words affected her. Nina could have dismissed Rudius as exaggeration, but instead she travels across the world to see him herself. That says a lot about her pride. She does not want second-hand stories. She wants to test the truth with her own eyes. When Nina arrives, Renoa is already in chaos. Beastman students are challenging Rudius for the right to marry Linnea and Persina, creating a strange mix of comedy, tradition, and battle tension. This works well, because it reminds us how different Rudius's world is from Eris's training world. In the Sword Sanctum, conflict feels sharp and serious. At the university, conflict can suddenly become ridiculous, social, and dangerous all at once. Nina walks into the middle of this and sees Rudius not as a distant legend, but as someone standing calmly inside complete madness. That calmness is one of the first clues that Eris was not exaggerating. Rudius does not need to act loud to look powerful. Then Badigadi enters, and the chaos becomes much larger. His arrival turns the situation into a wild test of power. Nina joins the fight, but she is quickly defeated, and that defeat is important. She came expecting to measure Rudius, but before she can even do that properly, she is thrown into a scale of combat that exposes her limits. This is one of the episode's strongest structural choices. Nina's pride is not broken by a lecture. It is broken by experience. She learns that the world beyond the Sword Sanctum contains monsters, legends, and strange powers she has never truly accounted for. The fight with Badigadi becomes a wake-up call, not just physically, but mentally. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Abhi grow naturally. When Nina regains consciousness, she sees what she really came to understand. Rudius is not ordinary. Watching him wound Badigadi changes her perception. Suddenly, Eris's obsession makes sense. Eris is not chasing a weak man. She is chasing someone who has survived things most people cannot even imagine. This moment reframes Eris for Nina. Eris's devotion is not foolish admiration. It is the pressure of trying to stand beside someone extraordinary. Nina finally understands the gap Eris is trying to cross. The most important part is that Nina does not respond by giving up. Instead, she becomes inspired. She realizes that if Eris can keep chasing that level, then Nina also has room to grow. After returning, Nina chooses to train alongside Eris. This is where the episode shifts from jealousy to rivalry. Nina does not magically become Eris's best friend, and that is good. Their relationship still has friction, pride, and competition, but now it has direction. Nina's view of Eris has changed. She understands that Eris is not just a wild fighter who got lucky. Eris is someone carrying a serious goal and paying for it with discipline. This makes their training dynamic more engaging. Eris brings overwhelming aggression. Nina brings speed, sharpness, and a different kind of focus. Together they push each other into new territory. The next major arrival is water god Riidalia, who comes at Galfarian's invitation. Her introduction changes the training environment again. Up to this point, Eris has been deeply shaped by the sword god style: attack first, move fast, cut decisively. Reider represents a very different philosophy. She agrees to train Eris and Nina only if they can defeat her apprentice, Isolde Kluel, a water king. This condition is perfect, because it forces both girls to face a style that does not reward blind aggression. The water style is defensive, patient, and reactive. It waits for the opponent's intent, reads the attack, and counters at the right moment. For Eris, that is a nightmare match. Eris's fight against Isolde exposes her biggest flaw. Eris is powerful, fast, and terrifying, but her aggression is readable. Isolde can sense that pressure and counter it. This defeat is meaningful because it does not make Eris look weak. It makes her look incomplete. Her direct style works against many opponents, but against someone trained to read killing intent and punish reckless movement, the same strength becomes a weakness. Nina, however, manages to knock Isolde out because her speed creates a different problem. This contrast is important. The episode is not saying one girl is simply better than the other. It is showing that different strengths matter in different matches. Eris, Nina, and Isolde begin training together, and the rivalry becomes more complex. None of them can settle the question of who is truly the best. That is exactly what makes the training feel alive. Eris has overwhelming force. Nina has speed and hunger. Isolde has calm defense and counterattacking discipline. Each one exposes a weakness in the others. Isolde gives Eris the key criticism. Eris tries to manipulate opponents with aggression, forcing them to move how she wants, but that does not work against water-style defense. The water style feeds on aggression. The more Eris pushes, the easier she is to read. This is the episode's central lesson. Power without control can become a signal the enemy uses against you. Nina then notices something important. Whenever Eris talks about Rudius, her energy changes. She becomes less purely violent and more emotionally centered. Nina advises Eris to use those feelings to calm herself, and this advice becomes the breakthrough. This is a very good character moment, because it shows that Eris's love for Rudius is not just motivation for rage or obsession. It can also become balance. Earlier, thoughts of Rudius pushed her forward like fire. Here, those same thoughts help her become still enough to slip past Isolde's defense. That is a major step in Eris's development. She is not abandoning her ferocity. She is learning to control when and how it appears. With Nina's advice in mind, Eris finally defeats Isolde. This victory lands because it is not simply about swinging harder. Eris wins by changing the way she carries her intent. She learns to suppress the obvious aggression that Isolde can read, then releases her attack at the right moment. The masters watching are impressed, but the real achievement is internal. Eris has taken a step from wild talent toward true mastery. Nina also grows through this process because her rivalry pushed Eris into that realization. Isolde grows because she becomes part of a three-way training bond rather than just a wall to overcome. Episode 2 ends with all three students becoming stronger because none of them could grow alone. As a review, Episode 2 is a strong follow-up because it avoids repeating Episode 1 formula. Episode 1 was about Eris entering the Sword Sanctum and proving she belonged there. Episode 2 is about expanding her training through rivalry, humility, and emotional control. Nina is the standout addition because she gives the audience an outside view of Eris and Rudius. Through Nina, the episode explains why Eris's goal matters without needing Rudius to dominate the runtime. The Badigadi scene adds comedy and scale, while the Isolde training gives the episode a smart tactical lesson. The only weakness is that the episode covers a lot of ground very quickly, so some emotional beats may feel compressed. Still, the core message is clear. Eris is no longer only becoming stronger. She is learning how to become sharper, calmer, and more worthy of the impossible goal she has chosen. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to Amazing Up High. Subscribing makes sure you do not miss the next video, and it gives me motivation to keep improving the quality of every upload. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.